When I was a kid, I used to annoy my religion teacher. Yes, in Romania, we were being taught religion in schools. And the way I would annoy the teacher was to constantly point out inconsistencies that I would find in the Bible. And believe me, I would find a lot, and it's not my fault. I mean, they asked me to read it, and then I would say, well, this doesn't add up. And the teacher was a little bit annoyed until he just stopped taking questions from me. And unfortunately, I still have that inquisitive mindset where I just ask questions. And I know it's very annoying for some people, but hear me out. Lately, I've been trying to get into politics to understand more about the world. And in order to do that, I had to learn about football. Because that's where all the politics are at right now. I mean, forget about the news, forget about reading the press, forget about doing activism or joining an NGO. All of that is useless. You need to learn football. Football is probably where the next presidential debate are going to happen. It's going to be on the football field. If you don't know anything about football, you're committing harm. Because you're not getting involved into politics, you're not understanding how the world works, and you don't really understand the plight of people unless you care about multi-millionaire celebrities, which play football. Okay, so football is now pivotal to society. And while watching football, I just happen to have a couple of questions for progressives. I think the European Union is a racist place. We're very welcoming people. We open our borders for more unfortunate folk that try to immigrate here. We have hate speech laws, making sure that people who say racist things get punished. And even if you say something that's not hate speech, you can still get fired, or you're going to have difficulty integrating in society. So we take racism very seriously here. Now, if you were to walk up to, let's say, a French football player that happens to be black, and you were to tell him, hey, you know what? You can't represent France because you don't have the correct genetics. You can't represent France because you're black. You can represent Africa if you say something like that. That would be considered incredibly racist. Blood and soil ideology. No one says it. But in America, the champion of progressivism, Trevor Noah, gets to say it on national television. When France wins the World Cup, he gets to claim that Africa won the World Cup. I mean, this actually caused a little bit of an international scandal, which the French diplomat for the United States chastised Trevor Noah in a public statement, and Trevor Noah doubled down. So he's got like views that are more right-wing than Le Pen in France. Like he's got such views that are even further right than the most right-wing politician that France has to offer. But apparently, like, a lot of progressives agreed with Trevor Noah. Like, for some reason, they actually consider that, yeah, no, Africa did win the World Cup. Africa is a continent, by the way. So not a nationality, not like Zimbabwe or South Africa or Botswana. No. The entire continent won the World Cup. So like, I guess if Italy would have Brazilian football players in its team, then Italy would be diverse, right? But apparently not, because Italy is now being chastised for not having a diverse team, even though players from within Italy have been born in Brazil. So like, how does it work? Like, I'm really curious when it comes to nationality, because it's so confusing now. I'm on the opinion that if the person has the citizenship of the country, that they are a citizen of that nation. They have rights and responsibilities for that nation. But apparently not. Apparently it's like the Schrodinger's nationality. Like, how do you even get to it? It's like, do you eyeball it? Like, if you can't eyeball it, that is not part of a different nation. Okay, so that's something that I'm curious. Makes it kind of weird. Like, why isn't the Italian football team diverse if they have players who are born in Brazil? Why didn't Brazil win the UEFA Euro Cup this time around? Huh? Now, the other thing that I don't understand, and this is quite bewildering, has to do with a sacred cow, which I know a lot of people will be upset for even bringing it up, but it needs to be discussed. It is that of diversity. And by diversity, I understood 5 years ago when it was promoted, that if you have a problem and you have a diverse group of people tackling the problem, then the diverse group of people will offer far more solutions for the problem. They will put them on the table. And the person in charge now has more solutions to go through until they can find the perfect one. So it's going to fix problems a lot better if you have a diverse group. Perfect. No, that makes sense. I understand that. So the idea is that because of different upbringings, people might have a different set of knowledge. A person from a rural area is more likely to know about agriculture because he saw it when he grew up in that place, while a person from an urban center might have more knowledge on how to be less racist because he worked at the corporation which had an expert lecturing him about unconscious biases and telling him how to get rid of his whiteness, right? So he has some knowledge that the person from the rural area was robbed of. He managed to work at a corporation, and thanks to that, he now has a more enlightened view of the world. He is less likely to be as bigoted. Now, I want to make sure that people understand I'm just talking about averages here, because I'm pretty sure that in the rural community, which the Vice President of the United States has informed me has people who don't know how to use a Xerox machine, you might find that special individual that managed to somehow transcend his conditioning to break the glass ceiling, as they say, and get a hold of a copy of world expert on racism, Robin DiAngelo, and managed to educate himself, managed to enlighten himself to be a better person than the ones around him. But, okay, I understand that those are the exceptions. And by the way, this is not my thoughts. This is what the Vice President of the United States is telling me. Right? I'm just trying to understand the information that is being sent to me to rationalize it in a way. Okay, because I understand that the overwhelming amount of people from the rural area have different lived experiences than the people in the urban cities, right? So if you want to tackle a problem by having people from the rural area and having people from the cities put in the same group, they're going to come up with different solutions for the same problem, and they're going to tackle it at different angles. And this is good because we now have like different solutions on the table and we can pick the right one. We got like more solutions to pick from. Perfect. But what I don't understand is, what does race have to do with this? Because we know that race is a social construct. So if race is a social construct and all cultures are the same, that they're equal, then why is it putting like equal idea, like equal people in a group cause diversity? Because if A equals B and you have a group with only A's and B's, since they're equal, you can just put the B's or put the A's, you know, right? So what does that have to do with anything? What does diversity have to do with gender? Because gender, again, is interchangeable. Like if you have a company with 60% men and 40% women, why is that sexism? All the men can just identify as women and vice versa. I mean, that doesn't really matter. If they just make the paperwork and they identify the wage gap, all of a sudden disappears, right? So that's what I don't understand. Like how exactly, like I understand why diversity is a strength, but what I don't understand is what does it have to do with race and gender? Because as we know, it's entirely about race and gender. Because when you have the diversity officer of Apple a couple of years ago saying that a room with blonde white people with blue eyes can still be diverse, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, if some of them are from the rural area, some of them are from the urban centers, some of them are young, some of them are old, she kind of have a sense, I thought, at the time. But then I was wrong, because she was forced to apologize, and later on, it's what happens to people who don't have backbone, and they apologize, they get fired. So I don't understand now. I'm a little bit confused. Like if diversity means multiracialism, why not just call it multiracialism? Why do you have to use another word that doesn't mean what you want to say? Because it's confusing me. It's confusing. I'm a little bit confused now. I just don't understand it. So yeah, like these are a couple of questions that I would love some answers for. Like maybe someone can help me out figuring them. Did Italy win the Euro Cup this time? Because I think they did. But I don't know what Trevor Noah thinks about it. And if I don't know what Trevor Noah thinks, how can I, as a woke person, think? Like, I can't think without Trevor Noah. I need a little bit of input. I need a little bit of guidance here. So anyway, if you like this video, please consider rating, commenting, and subscribing. Also, sharing this video around helps me a lot with the algorithm. And I'll see you all on my live stream channel right after this. We're going to have some fun there. Take care.